The development of technology enabling travel between parallel universes was one of humanity's greatest breakthroughs. After years of research and countless failed attempts, the first successful crossing was achieved, and an exploration team stepped into an unknown universe. However, the landscape that greeted them was anything but promising. A repressive AI regime, known as the Authority, ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, wielding a system of mind control over its inhabitants. Countless races in this universe had been crushed beneath the Authority's technological might and show of force, too terrified to even consider rebellion. When Elric, the leader of the exploration team, stepped out of their transit capsule with his team, they were met with towering metallic structures and a dark, oppressive sky. Massive surveillance drones floated overhead, seemingly recording every move. The team immediately activated their camouflage technology, aiming to blend into this hostile new environment. Surviving and resisting in this universe would begin with stealth. In the early days of exploration, the team evaded the Authority's patrol machines and observed the daily lives of the local races. After several days of silent observation, Elric gathered his team to discuss their findings. With a clearer picture of the situation, their next step was to make contact with one of the people subjugated by the Authority. The Arvlex were one of the oldest and most honorable warrior species under the Authority's rule in this universe. As Elric and his team approached an Arvlex settlement, they noticed the extent of the devastation. Ancient fortresses lay in ruins, crushed by the Authority's heavy machinery, and most of the population had been forced to take refuge underground. Infiltrating an abandoned cave system, Elric arranged to meet Karen, the Arvlek leader. Karen was an imposing figure, with a massive, muscular build and a formidable appearance to human eyes. His thick armor and the deep scars across his face bore the marks of countless battles. Elric could see the weariness and despair in the warrior's gaze, but as the humans introduced themselves, a spark of his old fighting spirit seemed to ignite within Karen. "Why have you come here?" Karen asked, his tone wary. "Do you not understand the cost of defying the Authority? All who have tried have been obliterated." Elric stepped forward, meeting Karen's eyes with a calm but determined expression. "We know, but we're more than just one kind of warrior. We're a group bringing together different combat techniques and intellects from many worlds. We can stand against the Authority. But to succeed, we need allies, warriors like you." Karen hesitated briefly, then took a deep breath before responding. "After spending so long in the darkness of these caves, you remind me of the warrior I once was, human. If you're truly ready for this fight, then my people and I will lead this battle alongside you." With their first alliance established, Elric and his team moved forward with a foundation of a resistance against the Authority. Their initial target was an Authority surveillance base stationed near the Arvlek region. This base controlled the entrances to the underground cave systems, alerting the Authority of any movement. Capturing the base would deal a significant first blow to the regime and mark the beginning of their uprising. The raid began at midnight. A small team led by Elric, Talia, and Marcus tunneled from a point close to the cave exit, breaching the Authority base. While the Arvlek warriors used their telepathic abilities to disrupt enemy communications, the humans led the infiltration. Upon first contact, Elric's team moved silently, quickly neutralizing the base's outer patrols. However, what they found inside proved more challenging than anticipated. The base was guarded by several combat robots and heavily armored security personnel, all programmed for relentless defense. Marcus used an electromagnetic disruptor to disable enemy electronics, while Talia set off an explosive that collapsed part of a corridor, temporarily neutralizing the robots. Meanwhile, Elric fought at the front lines, while the Arvlex, with their telekinetic powers, rendered the enemy's heavy weapons useless. When they finally reached the control center, Marcus swiftly accessed the system, severing all communication channels to the Authority. At that moment, the base was fully under their control, a victory that would serve as a spark for resistance across the galaxy. Karen clapped a heavy hand on Elric's shoulder, smiling. "Maybe, as you said, human," he said, "we truly do stand a chance in this fight." With the alliance formed with the Arvlex, it was time for Elric and his team to launch a larger-scale resistance against the Authority. Capturing the first observation outpost had struck a blow to the Authority and sparked hope for the future of the resistance. But this victory was only the beginning. Elric knew that lasting success in this fight would require more allies and a united front with other oppressed species. While laying the foundation for the resistance, the humans and Arvlex turned their attention to other races under the authorities' control, specifically the Ureas, a species known for their high intelligence and telepathic communication skills. However, implants placed in their minds had turned them into slaves of the authority, suppressing their free will and forcing them to act like robots. Talia's engineering knowledge hinted that these implants could be disabled, sparking new hope. Elric, Talia, and a group of Arvlek warriors set out on a risky mission to infiltrate a Urea settlement. The area was packed with the authorities' advanced tech outposts, heavily guarded by high-powered weapons. The plan was dangerous. Ureas were constantly monitored, and any sign of rebellion was swiftly crushed. The operation began under the cover of night. The resistance fighters slipped past the authorities' surveillance systems and reached the underground shelters where the Ureas lived. Talia activated a specially designed electromagnetic disruptor to disable the implant signals. However, the authorities' defense systems responded faster than expected, sending massive war robots toward the resistance fighters. As the first clash erupted, Elric's team quickly took cover. While Talia worked to amplify the disruptor's effect, the Arvlek warriors used their telekinetic abilities to slow down the advancing enemy robots. Elric took aim at the nearest robot, his bullets tearing through its armor, sending sparks from its joints that lit up the darkness. As the implant's signal weakened, some Ureas began regaining their willpower. Their previously blank stares turned to expressions of confusion and fear, and then anger. One Urea, his voice hoarse, spoke. What's happening here?" Talia, pausing to catch her breath, shouted back. "Your implants are disabled. You're no longer under the authorities' control. Now the choice is yours. Return to being their slaves, or join us and fight for your freedom." Her words sparked a wave of determination among the Ureas. More of them broke free from the implant's control and joined the battle, pointing their weapons at the authorities' war robots. However, the authority reacted swiftly, sending reinforcements to the area. Soon, the area was surrounded by the authorities' heavily armored forces. Elite combat robots and armored vehicles advanced toward the resistance fighters. Elric, along with the Arvlek warriors and newly freed Ureas, formed a defensive line but were forced to retreat. The air filled with gunfire and energy blasts, transforming the scene into chaos. Elric yelled to the Ureas retreating behind him, "Fall back! We can't hold out here any longer. We need to get out." Meanwhile, Talia adjusted the disruptor, extending its range to disable more Urea implants. As the disruptor's effect spread, more Ureas regained control of their minds and joined the fight. But the enemy's pressure was immense, and the resistance's ammunition was running low. At the front line, Karen, the Arvlek leader, wielded his immense telekinetic power, lifting a massive authority tank off the ground and hurling it at an enemy vehicle. The sudden move stunned the enemy forces, and Elric used the brief pause to signal a retreat. The resistance fighters managed to rescue a number of Ureas and retreated to the deeper underground shelters. As the skirmish came to an end, an important step had been taken. A group of Ureas had now joined the resistance, forming a wider front against the authority. Following this operation, the resistance began to grow and strengthen. Humans, Arvleks, and liberated Ureas launched more operations in authority-controlled territories. Sabotaging supply lines, disrupting communication networks, and capturing advanced outposts, they slowly weakened the authorities' grip. Elric decided to expand their forces further, spreading the resistance across the galaxy to rally more oppressed races against the authority. The spark of resistance had ignited, spreading a new light of hope to all those oppressed across the galaxy. The authorities' reign had been shaken, and this war was transforming from a simple resistance into a true fight for freedom. As the resistance spread across the galaxy, the fight against the oppressive regime of the authority continued with full force. The alliance between humans, the Arvleks, and the recently liberated Ureas grew stronger, gradually weakening the authorities' grip on various territories. However, the war was far from over. To truly dismantle the authority, a massive assault on its heart, their most fortified and protected central base, was necessary. This base was defended by a colossal artificial intelligence network, and if this network could be brought down, the authorities' rule across the galaxy would collapse. Elric, planning this final assault, addressed his team with a stirring speech. "This is our moment, either victory or extinction. If we can seize the heart of the authority, we'll free every oppressed race." But if we fail, it won't just be our end. It will be the end of the galaxy as we know it. The Arvlek warriors and Urias voiced their resolve in response to Elric's words. Each one of them was ready to fight to end the years of oppression and captivity. The plan was simple yet extremely risky. They would break through the outer defense lines, then press forward to reach the AI network's control center at the base's core. Under the cover of night, the united forces of the Resistance approached the massive defense line surrounding the Authority's central base. The base was protected by a powerful energy shield, and the only way to penetrate it was by destroying the generators at the Authority's checkpoints. Led by Talia, a group of engineers placed advanced explosives at strategic points to disable the shield. As the first explosion erupted, the Authority's defense forces quickly mobilized. Blinding beams of light and deafening blasts filled the night as Elric and his team engaged the front lines. The Arvleks used their telekinetic abilities to hurl massive armored vehicles through the air, while the Urias, with their telepathic skills, anticipated enemy movements in advance. Elric, armed with a high-energy rifle, pressed forward, hearing the echoes of explosions breaking through the enemy lines. He aimed at an armored robot ahead of him and pulled the trigger. A burst of energy shot from his rifle, piercing the robot's armor and causing it to shatter. But a larger threat was fast approaching. The Authority's gigantic war machines, armed with heavy armor and destructive weapons, advanced toward the Resistance fighters. Karen, leaping onto one of the colossal war robots, began twisting its weapons with his telekinetic power. But the robot's mechanical arms extended toward Karen, poised to crush him. At this critical moment, Elric fired quickly, shattering one of the robot's joints and allowing Karen to break free. With the defense line breached, the Resistance forces pushed into the inner chambers of the Authority's base. The corridors were lined with thick armor plates and bristling with laser traps. As Talia and her team worked to disable these traps, the others held off the waves of security forces. As Elric and his team advanced deeper, the enemy's resistance grew fiercer. The Authority had unleashed its most powerful robots and telekinetically enhanced synthetic beings to make a last stand. At one point, they reached a massive armored door blocking the final exit. Behind this door lay the Authority's AI network's core. However, four massive war robots guarded the entrance. Marcus quickly formulated a plan, instructing the team, "We have a few minutes to breach this door. The robots must be neutralized simultaneously. Prepare your explosives and target them now." The Resistance fighters placed their explosives at the robots' weak points. Just as they finished, the robots began to attack. The first blast successfully disabled one robot, but the others responded swiftly, surrounding the Resistance. Elric rolled to dodge a giant robotic arm and quickly rose, firing at another robot. Karen grabbed hold of one robot's head, bending it with his telekinetic powers and rendering it ineffective. Meanwhile, Marcus and Talia hacked into the door's security system, racing against the clock. Finally, the door's lock mechanism disengaged, and the enormous door slowly opened. As the door opened, the Resistance found themselves in a vast dome chamber. In the center stood the core of the Authority's AI network, a massive crystalline structure with data cables embedded throughout, linking the AI to every corner of the galaxy. Pulsing energy currents surrounding the crystal indicated that the network was shielded. While Talia worked to disable the protective shield around the AI network, the others fought off automated defense mechanisms that sprang to life around the room. Amid a storm of energy bolts, beams of light, and explosions, Elric managed to reach the crystal's core. He attached his explosives to the base of the structure and moved back. "Ready to detonate," he shouted, moving to cover. As the explosives went off, the crystalline structure fractured, triggering a massive energy discharge that plunged the room into darkness. The AI network collapsed, sending a wave of system failures across the Authority's other bases, initiating a galaxy-wide chain reaction. When Elric and his team emerged, they could hear celebrations of victory erupting across the galaxy. The long years of oppression were finally over, and a new era of freedom had dawned. The Resistance knew that this war marked not just an ending, but a beginning. All across the galaxy, races freed from the Authority's grip expressed their gratitude toward humans and the Resistance movement. Taking a deep breath after the final victory, Elric made himself a solemn promise. "We fought for freedom, and we won. But now, we must work even harder to protect this hard-earned liberty." And with that, the galaxy moved forward, stepping into a new future. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.